Hallå! Hallå, hallå, hallå allihopa.
Hello everyone. Kringlan forgets to speak English apparently.
Yes, or hallå every hoppa. As we say
Hello,
here.
everybody.
I hope everyone is fine, and today we will speak to the legendary Swedes. Not that we are not Swedes, but the Swedish Pirate Party. And with us we have the Swedish Pirate Party leader, the great one. How are you today, Katarina?
A great leader.
Mhm.
I feel
Military
humble.
leader.
Yeah. Oh yeah, in this shirt. Thank you, Otto. I'm good. I have a little bit of a cold, so excuse me if I make a little cough now and then.
Corona.
No, actually, I took a corona test on Monday and it was negative, so it's just a cold.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah,
Thank you.
but yeah,
Yeah, and we will be talking about the Swedish Pirate Party. And I know a lot of our viewers usually go into the history part of the party, but we have had that episode with Mr. Christian Engström a few episodes back. So if it's the story about how everything started you're interested in, I'm gonna have to ask you to go back a few episodes and look at that, because
Get
we
outta
will be
here!
speaking. Exactly. And we will be speaking about the future and the current situation. And for transparency and all that mumbo jumbo, I'm a pirate member of the Pirate Party. The Raccoon, Mr. Raccoon, Kringlan, or whatever you want to call him, is not.
Nope.
Not one of us. Not one of us. Yeah.
Yet.
No, I'm actually trying to keep it that way, so we can have some kind of neutrality with this channel.
I understand.
Yeah. But so we have recently had a principal program published. How do you feel about that? I mean, as the leader of the board, it's a. I feel that it's somewhere it's a bit more yours than anybody else, since you are the leader. So if not only the personal ideas, how do you feel about the principal program? Is it something that you can stand behind?
Of course, it's something that I can stand behind. I just want to correct you first because it's not. I mean, what we've published is a suggestion for an updated program of principles, and but it's always the members who decide. And we have what's it called? Annual meeting, annual council, no, annual meeting. I don't know, member meeting.
Board
Not board meeting. It's for all the
No,
members.
it's
So. Yeah, I don't know what it's called in English actually, but it's like
a
for it's for all members, and it's the kind of
isn't that a congress?
maybe
Yeah. Call it a congress until we have a better word. Call it a congress.
Yeah,
But of course, like you said, all the major decisions in the Pirate Party are taken by its members.
yeah. I mean, even the board. I mean, even though the board has been working on making on progressing this work with a program of principles. It's I mean, in the end, it's the members who elect the board. It's the members who, in the end, decide on the program as well. And with what we have published now is a suggestion, and we are now kind of opening a process to take in the views of the members before the meeting, so that we can make changes. Because we, in the Pirate Party, we really believe that we're like the more voices, the better. That's really how we find the best solution. So although I stand behind the suggestions that we put forward, I think it can be improved even more, and I hope that there will be a lot of active members putting out suggestions for changes or additions or removals or so.
Yes, leader.
In the
We will go right away.
Yeah.
But is there something in the principal program that if you would have published this all by yourself, that something that would be different? Did you get like downvoted somewhere?
Not on anything important. I mean, there could be formulations maybe, but
Okay.
in general, I think I've been the
You ruled with
voice
an
that
iron
says
fist.
we have to cut it down a bit. It's too
Okay.
much text. Like I think we have wanted to, like, the program is like 3 parts, and the first part is meant to be kind of setting the stage, like telling us what is the society that we live in now, what are the changes that we are seeing, how is this affecting societies. It's kind of telling, putting the narrative there of what we are in, what society we are in, and what we need to, what the problems are that we see. And so in that part, we have been kind of, we're not only talking about what we want, we're talking about what's happening. And it's easy to kind of go out and just talk too much. And we've tried to kind of keep it together, keep it focused. And I've been the one who's cut everything out of the other parts of the program that is anything related to the background, and say this should be in the chapter 1, not over here. So that we I think I've mostly been
You've
we've
been
been in
directing.
I mean, we've been in agreement about we are in agreement about our values and what's important. And I think the only things that we've kind of had to discuss is, does this have a place in the principles program or not, when it comes to like, is it useful here, rather than do we agree on this? So yeah.
Yeah. But those 3 parts, I mean, it's the where we are now, obviously where we're going or where we want to go. What is the 3rd part?
Actually, the first part is kind of where we are now. What's the problem description and what's the role of the Pirate Party? The second one is about our values, our core values, and the third part is kind of a concretization of those values. So it talks about our core issues, actually. So it's a bit more, what do you say, practical.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So can we define piratism now? Is it something that could be done out of the principal program? Yeah, that's what I know.
I mean, it can, but we also have, I mean, there is similar work being done in other pirate parties, in other parts of Europe, in other parts of the world. So I don't want to say that we have the right piratism, in case, like, because I respect that others might have slightly different views, but we've tried to kind of, I mean, we've tried to write down what piratism is for us, as we see it, and also in relation to the society that we are in and the changes that we see there now.
Yeah. Okay.
So it's actually, I mean, when it comes to values and principles, it's not different from our old program. It's just another structure. We kind of try to update it to today, and because it's quite different setting. Our issues are kind of a different setting now than what it was when the party started in 2006, where we didn't. I mean, we barely had social media then, for example. So that's just one example of how the society has changed so much. So we have to put our put our principles in and tell people what they mean in this society that we are in now. So that's what we've tried to do.
Yeah. Okay. Now there is a lot of difference between the pirate parties in Europe. For an example, France, which we talked a few episodes back with, they do not have a party leader at all. They are a bit more. Yeah, did you understand more how they did the meeting stuff, Kringlan?
No, not really. I think you can. We actually didn't too much go into their organizational structure. But I mean, talking with different pirate parties, obviously there's quite a lot of different organizational structures, and quite a few of them obviously more based on, like how can we get the type of organization that we would like to see more of? How can we let that become a part of the party? And I mean, I think there are pros and cons to every single way of doing it. I think it's like, I mean, maybe from a purely ideological standpoint, that's really beautiful, but it also poses a lot of issues when you're, it's very local. I think it's got to be what works the best, because ultimately you have an objective that you want to reach, so it comes kind of down to that. But maybe that is a good question for the international viewers. How is the Swedish party organized?
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know much about how the other pirate parties are organized, but I can tell you how we are organized. So, like I mentioned before, the top power lies with the member congress. That's like the top power, and they decide on the board and the party leader and party secretary and all the other positions or of responsibility in the party. And then we have so we have the structure, the board, and the party leader and the party secretary, and then we also have the kind of organizational structure, which is like basically for groups that are not elected. It's just people voluntarily helping out in either like external communications, internal communications, and like member activities, administrative group, and the fourth one is, oh no, I forgot. Oh, IT. Yeah. So those are the four like groups in the non-elected like organization. So that's basically volunteers, members who are involved in different parts of our organization, and they kind of like the top responsibility over that organizational structure is in the party secretary. So if we don't have any people helping out there, then all of that is basically the responsibility of the party secretary. So we're very dependent on all the volunteers that are involved in different parts of the organizations. And then we have local elected structures, local boards, and but they are like separate. They're actually separate organizations, so they are their own organization, and the only tie that they have to the party is that to be a local
chapter.
Local structure, local chapter of the party, they need to accept predefined stadga. How do I say that? I don't know.
Yes.
Rules.
Yeah.
For the organization.
Yeah, a set of rules.
Yeah, a set of rules for how people are elected in the organizations, how they are elected for lists, for the actual elections that we have, local elections then, and so on. So.
Yeah,
but otherwise, any three pirates can start up a local chapter. Yeah.
That is actually something that I feel is pretty unique for Sweden. The somewhat formal, mostly informal three pirate rule. that might be something you could tell our European listeners. What is the 3 pirate rule?
Yeah, and I actually forgot one part of the of our organization, which is probably the most important one, which is what we call Svärmen, the swarm. So basically, everyone who gets involved in any way and takes initiative to do whatever, and that's where the 3-party rule also comes in. Basically, means that if there are 3 pirates who have an idea to do something in the name of the party, then they can do it. As long as there are 3, at least 3, they can do it in the name of the party. So it basically says that everyone, all members, they represent the party in some way. Even though I am the elected party leader, doesn't mean I decide who does what. It means that everyone can take initiative and do what they feel is important or fun or effective.
Interesting. So you don't have to kill anyone to rise in the rank of the Swedish Pirate Party. I think I might have done a mistake. A really bad one. No,
what did you put in my water?
Yeah, I was just gonna say the same. Am I gonna die now, Kringlan?
Oh my god. I'm sorry, guys. I thought this was how it was done.
I thought you weren't even a member.
I'm not even a
Exactly.
Oh yeah. But it's because it's actually that kind of 3rd-party rule. I know, I can't remember. I think the Finnish party had something, but I think the French talked about that too a little bit. I think actually something similar has been, at least that one I've heard, and it seems like something that was one of the things that kind of left with, because that's the 3-party rule. I think that's been from the beginning, right? That's a kind of an old.
Yeah. I wouldn't be surprised if some other parties also took copied that.
I feel that they have varieties of it. For an example, it seems that the entire French is one giant 3-party pirate rule organization.
If they don't have a party leader, I don't know how they would otherwise do it.
No, we gotta get them back.
They built their own. They built their own management system. Like they have their own open source solution for how they're working with the whole organization. It's quite interesting, and they linked that. So I'm actually going to have a look at that. But that's how they've been managing it.
Yeah, we got some. We actually got a pretty interesting question in the chat, which I feel is. It's pretty good to get answered, because here we have a pirate who lost us since IPRED and FRA, which is a pretty giant, massive community, I think. And where should you read up on the current stances of the pirates if you're coming back now, so to say, Katarina? How do you feel about that? Where would you should.
Go? Well, I would. Well, if you are a member, then you can go in, or actually you can do that anyway. You can go in and actually read our new suggestion for a principals program.
Exactly.
That's my suggestion. If you want to dig into what we stand for, that's the best way. Well, that one isn't accepted by the members yet. So maybe you should read the old one, which is on the website for now. And
and I was hoping for some free commercial of getting the pirate leader to tell us to go watch old Pirat-TV episode, but she didn't. Must Save Earth. The chat brought it up instead.
Yeah, you can do that. I don't know which ones exactly. I don't remember which. I've been on so many episodes here. I don't know which one is one.
We have a lot of episodes, so we really need to set up an album or something on YouTube. We can do a quick tour on our different shows. On Mondays we have what we call Nyhetssvepet in Swedish, basically a news show about the current news and all over the world on Swedish. Tuesdays I do Knarkduell, which is a show about harm reduction and narcotics. Wednesdays, like today, we do Pirat-TV, which is a European show where we do the European pirate perspective. Kringlan, now I don't really know where we are after
then
that.
we do.
Could you take over?
Warning for airbeats for Medlingen, which is a Swedish. That's exactly how I pronounce it. That's how I make that English. No, it's about the governmental agency that is pretty corrupt, and we have a lot of data on it, and we're digging into trying to dig out answers to how they are, what's going on there. And then on Thursdays, it's sometimes it will be perspective in the future. It's going to be a day where it's going to be a little bit new. Occasionally, it will be more internationally geared, and we'll see. And then on Fridays is Corona and news, and post game
Yes.
we'll play games together as well.
Yeah. And all of those shows are at 1900. And on Saturdays, we also have the Piratism show at 1500.
It's true.
That's it. Right now.
That's it.
Yeah. So now we did some commercials.
Yeah, we did.
Yeah, I realized one episode I was in was when we were talking about our visions for the future, like the
Yes.
50-year vision. That was like half a year ago or something. I think that was quite a nice show. So
Yeah. And
that's a tip.
and that segues me into my next question. What will this principal program mean for the next election, which is coming up 2020, right? 2022, sorry.
So what I'm hoping that we were that I felt that we were kind of lacking in the old principles program was to set our politics in perspective of the society that we live in and the changes that we see here now. So that's what I hope will be clearer now. Like, why pirate?
Will this help me as an activist, for an example, to answer what does the Pirate Party feel about school?
No, because that's in the specific school policy program.
Okay.
So it will not do that, but it will. Yeah.
Then what is the principal program used for?
It will help you answer the question, why should I vote for the Pirate Party, or what is the Pirate Party, or what are your core values, or those kind of questions. That's what we hope. And also, of course, it's there to guide us when we do the more practical policy work. Then we can look back at the principles program and say, okay, is this in line? This idea that we have, is that in line with our
okay,
based on principles? What if we apply that on school? What does it mean?
Basically, if we were a theocracy, this would be the 10 Commandments.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yes, something like that. It's a bit longer. Like 22 pages, though.
That's what I was thinking. I mean, you know how I like to dumb stuff down so even I can understand it. And yeah, sometimes you oversimplify them. So how do you feel that? Do you think this is going to impact our next election, or I mean,
the change, the update to the program of principles is just one of a lot of things that we are doing right now. We are also working on policy programs for education, for economy, for environment, for lots of other things. So those are probably going to be more practically useful for the activists to answer questions directly from voters in that sense. But I think the principles program is important to involve members as activists and involve people in our everyday work, and to kind of say that purpose more clearly, see where we're heading more clearly, see why are we talking about this and that. It's not a single issue. It's not just that we are against this one law, for example. It's part of a bigger picture. It's part of a bigger vision that we have for society, like, and where we want to go. So that's what I hope that it will.
So you can kind of consider it an RSS feed, right? So it gives you some rules about what data should be downloaded. And then that's, if it fits within this little program, then it will get downloaded. Or maybe...
maybe.
Or maybe... Yeah, I'm not going to keep on doing stupid stuff with that. I'm thinking, how can we get this? How can we make it even dumber?
Even dumber.
It's a bag, and you can put things in it. But if it doesn't fit, it don't fit everything anymore. So everything can't go into the bag. Yeah, but it's good. And we're going through all of it, and we will do that it will be in Swedish though, but we're going through all of it, and we will, obviously give our critiques and answer questions, what we think, and speculate about what it can possibly mean in terms of policy. But obviously I'm super excited about, what policy derives from it, and it also tends to be one of these. It's really hard actually, because it needs to answer the question why easily. But it needs to be broad and kind of narrow at the same time. Because if you get a program that kind of accepts everything, then you also end up with this kind of, typically, because people will probably go back to it and say, hey, that's what I interpret from this. And you have other people who goes like, well, I interpret this. And that's, but it's gonna be cool to see. And I mean, I'm just really happy we have it, to be honest.
Yeah, me too. I think one of the things we wanted to do with this was also to get a clearer kind of red thread through our issues, and kind of feel that it's not just like, we are pro open source, but why are we pro open source? How is that connected to? Why is that important? How is that connected to the development in society, or people's everyday lives, or whatever? So the idea is that this is kind of tying together all these smaller,
because I mean that
by
is
themselves
something,
smaller issues.
Yeah, I mean that is something we've heard from almost all pirates. I mean, and it's hard, right? I mean, I think we're getting to a point where most people understand how important information is. You're talking about school, you're talking about public management, you're talking about law and order, you can talk about economics, you can talk about almost everything. It's almost all information right now. So, but I think it's still, it's a tough sale. So hopefully it can help with that, help people maybe get some ideas how to explain it as well.
I hope so.
Yeah. But let's throw a sideball in there. Let's say, for an example, that the Swedish government collapsed now. This instant second they collapsed, and they said, yeah, let's have a new election in 6 months. What would be the 3, 5, whatever amount of legs? Where would we stand? Where would you put us in the election? Yeah, which
kind
questions?
of on what's the policy political legs?
Exactly.
Yeah.
What would you do? I mean, would you go like full on only digital democracy, or would you what would you do?
No, I would. Okay, this is not in the in the principles program. So this is separate, but based on that, I would probably devise like 2 or 3 areas, where one would be strengthening democracy, like you said. Another one would be, I think, entrepreneurship and innovation and research, in that kind of area. And wow, now I've thought about this. Now my head is blank.
It's no problem. Don't feel stressed. I mean, this would only be yeah, this is a very unique scenario, but I figured you would have thought about something like this.
Yeah, I think the third area I was thinking about is a little bit more soft or connected to one of the core values that we put in the principles program, which is värdighet, which you say in English, dignity.
Dignity.
Yeah. So that kind of goes into some different traditional policy areas. Like it can be about health, or it can be about social what do you say? Like the social
Say it in
justice
Swedish and wait.
system. I don't know.
Social justice.
Yeah, but it could also be about like culture and like those kind of like softer things coming together, and that coming together with that value, basically. So I think that would be kind of three areas that I would choose.
Could you sum those three areas up, Kringlan?
Maybe. Well, I mean, digital democracy.
Yeah, democracy in general, I would say.
Yeah.
I mean, I think we're past talking about only digital democracy. This is about democracy in general, and we live so much of our lives in the digital, so it's just integrated in that. It's not about digital democracy, it's about democracy, and then we happen to live in a digital society. So
and yeah, I mean, the last one I can't really help with. I kind of understand what you mean. I mean, I think there's a lot of things going on in terms of how I mean, the political landscape is changing rapidly, you know, and it's becoming extremely polarized, and you have a lot of media to thank for that as well. I mean, there's a huge kind of machine on top of it, and I think I mean, I noticed that's something you're writing about there. I would definitely say, I mean, when we're getting that from the chat as well, which I think, I mean, it's an area where, at least in Sweden, the Pirate Party can have a really strong edge, which is environmental issues. You know, generally actually talking about that, but because I mean, when we talk about like the situation is so different in different countries. I mean, in some countries, we all are talking about with the Finnish pirates, obviously, the Greens have kind of eaten some of their questions, right? And are, you know, much more on the forefront with the tech stuff. But the Greens in Sweden, they're not really in the forefront of solutions to the climate, nor are they in the forefront of technical solutions, you know, in general, and you know, extending democracy. Then obviously that's going to be, you know, what's the base thinking about that, and how do you you know, obviously how do you make sure that those ideas of, you know, but you know, but what about the market, you know, like that you need to kind of take care of those issues. And we got something more.
Would you say that I mean, corruption is a big problem in Sweden, Katarina?
yes.
Because I feel that when you start looking at the other pirate parties outside of Sweden, the successful one have, on some grade, been anti-authoritarian because of corruption.
Yeah.
Is this a road that you're willing to try with the Swedish pirates? Should the voice of it be heard?
Yeah, I mean, I definitely anti-corruption is one part of the strengthening democracy leg. But the issue in Sweden is that even though there is corruption, it's not so visible. Actually, one of the reasons that Sweden has a kind of reputation to not be so corrupt is because some of the biggest kind of research, or these kind of how do you say, when they publish lists of most democratic countries or like less corrupt countries and stuff, one of the biggest one of those that is released every year is actually not about which countries are actually more corrupt. It's about how the citizens, if the citizens think that it is corrupt. And in Sweden, a lot of people don't think that it is corrupt, and they don't see the
Here,
corruption.
for an example, the great media lines were sounded when there was a Swedish Democrat, I think, who was he was convicted for 42 accounts of fraud against the Swedish government. And basically, he left his chair in the parliament, and he got the same salary from the party instead, and he just kept working for them. I feel that this is something that should be done about, or is this something that we should something like this? Is this something that should be accepted? Like, okay, yeah, he did the crime, he paid back some of the money, and then.
But this is kind of standard. Maybe not that many cases of fraud is not standard, but it's standard that politicians, after they finish being politicians, they go work and get a really high salary at some company because they have a good connection into the government or the parliament, and they do a lot of lobbying for the companies. And there are like, that's one of the reasons that Sweden actually has corruption, is because we have really weak laws around corruption, or to detect corruption, or to hinder corruption. So I mean, we do have some laws that intend for transparency, like offentlighetsprincipen, the principle of like all
Public domain.
Yeah, but
public documents should be open. But then just because we have that, people think that that's enough, but it's not enough.
I mean, you
like,
can't
we
get
need
those
stronger
papers. I mean, it's ridiculous. When you try to actually start getting them, they will print like 9,000 documents and charge you money. It's insane. And they'll try to hide anything. I mean, trying to chase these type of documents is like, it's just I mean, Sweden is just when you start really looking into it, it's incredibly corrupt. Like a lot, and at a depth that I wasn't really aware of. You know, before I really really started kind of getting into it.
Yeah, and there's really, really strong lobbying, and I'm kind of a little bit disappointed how in some areas I feel like there's also very little. There's not much of the kind of civil society organizations that you have in some other countries, especially in our kind of core areas when it comes to digital rights, privacy, and things like that. There's nothing in Sweden that can compare to like some international organizations on that. There's the kind of no balance, which means that politicians are lobbied a lot from companies only, and they listen to them, the big ones. And I mean, we've seen this recently just with this about like this Amazon and Facebook server halls that they've built, and they got I don't know how many millions
140 Facebook
yeah,
at least.
to build server halls in Sweden, and they were kind of promising jobs and this and that, but everyone knew that there wasn't, or I mean, if anyone had actually wanted to know, like, they would have found out that there won't be any jobs, like 50 jobs maybe, not like I don't know how many thousand they promised. So yeah, this is the kind of lobbying that we see all the time, that is not in the interest of the people. It's just a waste of money.
Yeah, I mean, but I like, and I'm looking forward to what you can do practically about it. But it's important. I mean, it's just so incredibly important, and specifically now when so many laws also are being, we can't find out what happened to the Corona money. We're not supposed to find out what schools are doing good and bad. We can't, track where the government spending is going. And more of all of these data is referring to, powerful entities within society. Their data is supposed to be hidden, while obviously your data is supposed to be wide open. Latest now, the Moderaterna wants to allow you to be, not only your phone to be bugged without but they also want your home to be able to be bugged. If the police suspects criminal activity, they should be able to bug you and install stuff in your home.
Well, there is already rules that they can do that, but they are for very for cases where there's a strong suspicion and really serious crimes. But they can already do that.
We, in many extents, we are building, we are taking steps towards a more strong police types that were greater and greater control of the individual, digitally, but also in the physical space. And that's super worrying. And the question is, do people know about this to an extent where they will care? I think a lot about the Swedish mentality has to change, but I do know, if you look at why people vote SD, for instance, it's part of an economic change. It's part of, a constant campaigning from them about this issue. But it's also because they're starting to realize that it's corrupt. I think most people who've been in contact with a lot of our authorities and haven't been, taken care of in any way, and, they start realizing, hey, this is fucked up. So, I think that, at least in Sweden, the kind of the openness for being more aggressive and more honest and more confrontative in some way with established parties can be a really good strategy forward. At least it's one of these options, And then because I know in the program you also have this, which I'm worrying a little bit about, all of this talk, having a civil and I letting discourse be very kind of, a little bit critical of the environment of discussion right now, but I think it's extremely hard to change. And just, I don't think you can, maybe I read that wrong and we but
I don't really understand what you mean.
I think in the beginning of the principle in the program, right? I can't really recall the passage right now, but it's generally about the tone of conversations in Sweden. Kind of which you can read as, we should be very fact-based, which I agree on, but it's also really important to be very clear, if there is corruption, this is corruption, and not backing down, just having data, videos, Facebook shut, this is corruption, you can have data on that, but not being confrontative, not being very clear. That I think is general something in Sweden that's really, really dangerous as in politics, because you can't push the line. It's not really well. Look, if you're offered a job in this way, or even get a job in this way from someone you've closed a multi-million-dollar deal with as you're working as a public servant, that's fucked up. If we have a financial police, a Finansinspektionen, where people just go so they can get jobs in other fucking companies, that's fucked up. This is fucked up. This is a big problem. And I think to a certain extent being, which is my opinion on it, is actually being very clear on these things, being able to break them down to, well, this is corruption. And, or, if you're going to have basic income for all, being able to get it to the levels where you are kind of populist in a message, which is simple messages that people get. And then you have data to back it up. But
yeah, of course, you don't have to have all the data in all the Facebook posts or whatever. You can have the messages, simple messages, and have the data, but you need to back it up with data, because it's also, you can't accuse people of corruption without data or without any kind of proof.
No, and that's though what's important. I feel sometimes, say that you're talking about this Facebook stuff, right? You can say it, but you need to back it up with a video that explains exactly what you mean with that, right? and you can back it up with the documents or the whole, Aftonbladet in that case has done a pretty good job explaining that. I mean, it's a pretty decently trusted source. It's fine. You can do more research on it if you want to, but that's something I feel is, from a point of a marketing view, quite necessary. Because if you don't have strong opinions as well, if you don't say things very clearly, people won't wake up. It's like you won't. It's really hard to get the message across these days. It's just the way it is.
I agree. It's not always so easy though, when you have to do it, like finding those right messages and finding a way out. But I agree with you; it has to be simple and straightforward.
Yeah, I think some stuff is easier. I mean, it depends on what policy you decide to go for. But I mean, I think actually explaining to people what doing a 10-minute video showing the let's say how the government has decreased your freedom with these laws and suggestions, and just taking 6 years for immaterial rights and them talking about just a quick clip when the Social Democrats say, well, we need to protect the companies from the people.
Yeah.
And I think those, it may sound weird, but a little bit more of those attack stuff. And I'm not saying attack. This is literally what they said. That's something I think is just. I think quite a few of them are actually quite easier than people think to prove as well. And just just reading the news like I have for 6 months, you kind of, when you really start digging a little bit, it's quite a lot. That is hidden, kind of a little bit further than Aftonbladet and the Swedish media, right? But, it's pretty clear. The rising inequality in Sweden and so on, etc.
Yeah.
Sorry, ranting here.
No, it's interesting, and I think you're right.
We have some comments from the chat here. Otto, do you want to see if you can... It's interesting that we're gathering more data than ever, but also it's becoming so messy that some things get lost.
Yeah. It was very eye-opening seeing someone else's pace when it comes to local politics as well. Någon annan betalar eller someone else paying is a YouTube documentary from Sweden about the government throwing money in the lake.
Yeah, and
we have a skiing. Ski jump thingy. I don't remember where it is in Sweden, but I think it cost over 100 million Swedish crowns, and it hasn't been used once because it was deemed too dangerous.
Oh, really?
Or just Nyamko Sabuni, who when accused for taking taking ideas directly from company Scania in Sweden, she says, "Yeah, of course I do. I used to work there before I came into politics. These are my friends." She says, saying this, and that's kind of the thing. I don't think that Swedes people, even the people who work, they don't understand. Like they've forgotten what it means to be a politician. You're supposed to represent the people against this type of power.
Yeah,
not against.
I agree with you 90%.
It sounds a little bit confronted.
I think you can still listen to companies as well, but you need to also think for yourself and not just listen and copy. You need to think, what are the effects of this? What are the costs of this? Who will it affect? Is it useful for someone, or will it just create more money for this one, or does it do something else as well? So I think, and also you need to listen to civil society organizations and the citizens just as much as you listen to companies. But of course I don't think that you should not talk to companies at all or not listen to them at all,
No,
but you should always have in mind that you're serving the people.
Yeah, and I mean, at least I'm saying, I mean, democracy. I mean, the point, the whole idea is that we each get one vote, and that the democratic system should represent us, no matter how rich you are, no matter how much power you have. You know, you should be represented, and I think that's kind of the. I mean, it's built to kind of counteract certain other power structures within a capitalistic society or the capitalistic economy, model. So I think it's super important. I mean, at least put the people first. Not saying you shouldn't listen. You should listen to a lot of different entities and stuff, but you should definitely know who you're there for. You know, like who put you there, and not only when it's time to vote. Not only make marketing and put together, some squishy words, and then, take a job at Facebook if you don't, if it doesn't go your way. That's just not, that's a failing democracy. And that's important to kind of see and try to counteract.
Yeah.
Or
and sometimes I just don't understand how politicians can be like that. Like, are they stupid, or are they kind of destroyed by the system, or why did they lose? It feels like, well, I guess there's probably two types of people who become politicians: those who actually want to change something, and those who see it as a career in some way.
And right now in Sweden, we have an abundance of people who want to see it as a career.
Yeah, maybe.
And when you have, because we have recently, I mean, it wasn't very long ago they made the changes to the salary that, because a few years ago, if you were to sit 2 terms, work for the government 8 years, you would be giving some kind of pension for the rest of your life. And this was to change the people in the government. But now, if you want to keep the salary, you have to stay as a politician, and people know that it's quite hard to stay as a politician, and they notice it. So what I believe is that a lot of people get pretty panicked once they get voted in, and they're like, okay, what am I going to do after this? So they start talking to companies about what they can do after, and then they start running their schemes.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean,
there are so many different types of corruption. It's scary.
Yeah, and this is, I think, one that we in Sweden are just completely blind to. Like, but I think it's changing, and it has to change, and it has to change pretty quickly, and because it gets really rooted within the system if it's not, like it gets so, corruption is so hard to remove once it gets control over enough power. Once you get the media, you get the system, you get the elections, you get the, a lot of the stuff that people rely on. Like, and it happens fast, Like, I mean, I've been fortunate enough to travel in a lot of different countries with different sorts of corruption and different sorts of issues on this level. But once it kind of bites from the top and through the governmental agencies and organizations and how you want to privatize, and you sit on a board and you do this and this and this. This is really, it like just listening to Nyamko Sabuni say stuff like that, it means it's pretty deeply rooted, if you don't even stop to pause. And even the people who interview her, they can't say why that would be wrong. They're like, oh, okay.
Yeah. I was going to get to that, actually. I'm also really disappointed in journalists. Also in all these kind of, every time the politicians are on the news or in a debate on TV, they don't get any real questions. It's like it's all a show, and it's just crap.
Yeah, I mean, it's become like that. I have my theory about, unfortunately. Yeah, sorry, Otto.
No, I have my theory about that as well. I believe that since the media doesn't have any power over the politicians, so to speak, that they can, I mean, there's not an event that the politicians has to attend where they are asked questions about the media. So I believe that the media are scared that the politicians will suddenly stop answering their questions at all. And I actually believe that in Sweden it's a possibility. I mean, I think people would actually accept it.
I mean,
But do you think even like the state's media,
Yeah, of course.
can they stop answering the questions from SVT, from the state television?
Well, wasn't it SVT who sent that debate where Morgan Johansson refused to debate the other part and then sat bashing her for like 5 minutes instead?
I don't know. I don't think I've seen that one.
Yeah, okay, I mean, no. You know what I'm talking about.
Yeah,
now, right?
I know. And I mean, I think they're doing that. I think SVT is another problem. I mean, it's essentially, you know, that's who's going to feed you. Right? I mean, and I think it's really good that we have that type of public service. Don't get me wrong, but I don't think SVT could be critical to the whole system, if you know what I mean.
No.
They wouldn't.
But it doesn't have. You don't have to be critical to the whole system. You can just question politicians for things they've done, backed up by data or facts.
I mean, I agree.
It can't be that hard. It's like, do some research.
I think it is. I think it is harder, and also it typically like this. If you are a kind of famous journalist, you're in the circle of these people, right? I mean, you're going to similar places, you're doing similar things. Stockholm is not the biggest city. You are meeting each other. You're gonna have a working relationship with this person probably for a long time. Making yourself powerful enemies tends to be something that people. I mean, they'll think twice. Do you really want to be the one who, you know, put Sabuni against the wall and, you know, really asked her? I mean, this is corruption. You understand that, right? And look here. I mean, you know, who are you really serving? You know, like
I would love to be that one.
Yeah, I mean, so would I. But I don't see. I
understand your point that it's going to affect their careers and their lives, maybe.
Yeah.
But that's shitty. That means we don't have true free media.
No, but
we don't.
I don't. Yeah, I would say. I mean, looking at it, and I mean, just looking at stuff such as, you know, the type of stuff that we cover in media today. I mean, there's been one really good article in Aftonbladet, which is that Facebook stuff. But I mean, this is happening all over the place. You listen to people and kind of get around it. This is not the first thing. It's not the last. This is not a unique thing. You kind of start seeing that it happens really rarely. And you know, when we were doing this arbetsförmedling and stuff, or when we were doing it, that's a huge scandal, right? But Dagens Arbete, they decided to drop the story. Pretty much immediately after Svenskt Näringsliv went in and said they would have a seminar on how they could improve it. You know, that's when they dropped it. They just dropped it. And then they put out a kind of fluff piece where they said, well, now Arbetsförmedlingen has changed their routines. And in fact, what they had done is that they removed the requirements to have teachers. So they removed from their leverantör, from their contractor, any sort of quality assurance. So they didn't have to have teachers on. They're supposed to teach stuff, and they don't have to have teachers. And instead of actually teaching welding, which we're supposed to do, they can teach just some basic, you know, introductory course to people who are supposed to get a welding job after, you know. And I think it's like, and what they said, you know, what we kind of digged out as well, is that they say it just takes too long. This is 6 years. Last time they had something like that, it's a 6-year kind of thing. Because, for instance, in Sweden, well, that's at least what they said, if you're cheating the government, that's really only, those laws are only applicable for private people. So it's really hard to get a government, get a company convicted of defrauding the state. So, and you get into all of these legal issues where they'll try to start silencing you. You're going to have to start defending you in different types of court. They'll call it defamation, blah, 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 blah. So they're very careful about doing things. Because, I mean, like any other state, you have these type of tools that can be used against you, right? And they are typically, I mean, like you see in the political sphere, right? I mean, these have huge, there are certain entities that have a lot of money and they can spend endless resources on lobbying, right? Whereas how many people can go to meet a politician and say, hey, I don't like this. So the power balance is off on many different places, I would say.
Sorry.
Nice.
Yeah.
Fuck yeah.
I agree.
Corona. It's not.
I
Don't be
just
scared.
need to tell you I have to leave in probably like 5 minutes or so,
That's
or
fast.
5 or 10. Yeah. So I just realized that I thought it was Thursday. Just realized it's Wednesday and I have a meeting
Oops.
at 8:30. Sorry.
Otto, then please re-rail us again.
Yeah.
It's. I would like to speak a lot more about the upcoming election because that is what I see as our natural next step, of course.
Yeah.
How is your feelings towards that election? I mean, we are pretty open with the elections that we think that like this is one where we're going to be sitting back a bit. What is your current feeling?
What do you mean sitting back?
An election?
I don't
Well,
aim to sit back. But we
That's what I
do
want.
have, I mean, we have set the goal to take seats in municipalities rather than in the national elections, to kind of start there. Basically, because we feel that we need goals that feel doable with the organizations that we have. And so we want to set goals that we can reach with actually having the power in our hands to do it, not just getting lucky with, I don't know. We can still maybe get lucky and succeed in national. We don't know that yet. But we want to feel kind of that we have the power more in our own hands, and that's why we've decided to set the goals on the municipal elections. So that's what we're aiming for, and that's kind of what we will try our best to kind of support the municipalities where we have a lot of people engaged and involved, and of course we'll be working on the national scale as well. We've been working on a strategy that is actually decided by the board. I just haven't sent it out to the members yet because I needed to fix some details so it's more readable, but it's going to be out in a couple of weeks. So that kind of sets our goals and plan initiatives that we need to do to get there. So we are not sitting down in the boat. We have a lot of plans for this election, and we kind of have that in mind also now that we work with policy. That we also have in mind that to think about that it's also policy not just on the national level or the EU level, but also on the municipal level. And there, I think actually this question of democracy and anti-corruption is super strong issue that we can use on the municipal level. So I think that's going to be probably one of our core. What did you say? Legs for the campaigns.
Okay.
Yeah. Was that an answer to your question?
Yeah. It's alright.
It's all right.
Sorry, what did you say? It's all right.
It's alright.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, I wanted to speak some about the future. What do you feel is the Pirate Party's current? What's stopping us? Why aren't you Prime Minister of Sweden?
Well, we need to be more pirates.
And how
the
would
short
you
answer.
become a pirate?
Will you go to blipirat.nu and become a member? But most of all, I mean, we do have members, but we need more people who actually get their ass off the couch, or they can sit on the couch with a computer that works too. and actually help us out with everyday work, everything from, you know, cutting videos, editing videos, to cooling around like the members to arrange meetups, or yeah, I mean, we needed a lot of things that we need help with. We have no one in the party who's actually paid to work, so everyone is just putting in their free time, and we need to be more people. That's like the cool thing, because we can, even if we could get attention in some way by some smart campaign, to be able to kind of maintain that, and answer to the reactions that we get, and kind of make use of that momentum. We need the organization there to be stable in the ground, to be able to grow, and actually not just have then a quick top and then a dip. So that's really what we need. We need more people standing on the barricades with us. Yeah, that's my short answer. And actually, I wanted to say that if there are any Swedish pirates watching, we're actually now the nominations are open for the board. So if anyone is, for the board and some other like accountant and valberedning, whatever that is called. Like there are lots of positions now that you can nominate people to. You can nominate yourself, and we'll have the elections of the new board and so on the member meeting in October. So I think it's another 1.5 week that you can actually nominate. So do that, or get involved in some other way. If you remember, you can join our chat or Mattermost chat and just tell us what you want to help with, or ask us what we need help with, and we'll find a place for you. So that's really what we need.
Great, that's some great call to actions right there.
Yeah.
We get a question: who is the animal? I am the animal. I'm a raccoon though, not an animal.
Yeah.
I guess we're all animals. But good. Should we wrap it up there then and say thank you to the hello to you, Boogie from the animal. And say thank you to Katarina, the leader of the Swedish Pirates. And obviously
thank you for inviting me.
Yeah, anytime. I mean, you're super welcome. And thank you to the chat who's been keeping it going, talking here and philosophy, thinking about strategy, which I think is really important. I think also if we have more international friends, it's, I think these organizational issues is things we can delve deeper into. Also, how do you build organizations when people don't get paid? How do you create a swarm from a political perspective? All of these things. It's actually really interesting. And it's one of the hardest things you'll ever do is, building organizations when no one can work, like no one has time for it. But super cool. Anyhow, Otto, you got some last words before I kill you to become a member in the Pirate Party, as that's obviously what you need to do to be able to join the final chapter.
No, I mean, yeah, I don't know.
Maybe that's a good final question. What does it take for PP to get the government funds, party funds? How do you call
that? We need 2.5% in the national elections to get government money. So
2.5. 2.5.
2.5. That's a goal.
That's not. It's not completely undoable. We'll need a hell of a marketing campaign, though.
Yeah. You seem like you know that stuff. Maybe you should help us out.
We're gonna go screaming. We need to. It needs to be like. Yeah, I can think about this. We need to arrange.
Please do.
We need to get all pirates to do activism. We need activism. That's really That's really it. Look at the BLM. I mean, get that shit going and a few nice billboards that you take photos of with good messages like end the corruption and basic income for all, and maybe it'll have something. Who knows? Anyway, I didn't know that, Boogie. Thanks for letting us know. I'll check the terms and conditions. Okay. Well, I mean, we're not really a affiliate, so I'm not sure it matters. But thank you all who watched. We'll see you all later. Actually, for those who are Swedish, in just about 40 minutes, we're gonna start Varning för arbetsförmedlingen. Until then, all the best. Bye bye.
All the
Thank
best.
you, Boogie.
Bye bye.
Kuken ute. Nej, stoppa in den igen, Miss Midget, är du snäll.
Entering orbit, final destination. Reaching the peak of a life of preparation. Stealth, static, this distortion as you control.